My bestie Catherine asked me to celebrate New Year's Eve together, but in the end, I ended up in her brother's bed. After a chaotic night, I guiltily dragged my sore legs and ran away with a bucket and blocked Larry. Later, Larry blocked my door and said, "You don't want my sister to know about our relationship, do you?" I said, "Oh my God, my bestie, I really didn't mean to provoke your brother." In exchange, I promised to pretend to be Larry's girlfriend for a month, but unexpectedly, I was caught red-handed by my bestie. Catherine said, "When did you two become that kind of relationship?" I said, "Listen to me explain." Larry said, "When were we not that kind of relationship?" I was dumped after a breakup, so I asked my bestie Catherine to get drunk with me on New Year's Eve. As a result, I waited in the booth for 3 hours, and she told me that the flight was delayed. "Flora, don't worry. I've asked my brother to pick you up. I'll be relieved if he takes care of you." Catherine and I were in the same class in junior high and high school, and we had a very close relationship, but after college, we were unfortunately separated by thousands of miles. Knowing that I was dumped, she immediately bought a plane ticket to accompany me without hesitation, but I didn't expect this to happen. Okay then, I had met Catherine's brother before, but I wasn't familiar with him and was even a bit afraid of him, because her brother was the kind of standard child of someone else's family. When Catherine and I were crying over junior high school math, her brother had already been recommended to a top national university. On the few occasions we met, he always looked cold and aloof, and even Catherine, the little devil, didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of her brother. So, when I opened my eyes and found that I was sleeping in the same bed as Larry, my world collapsed. Awake, a slightly hoarse male voice came. I stiffly turned my head. Although I was already mentally prepared, my heart still skipped a beat. His eyes were deep and his features were three-dimensional. The skin of this grown man didn't have the slightest flaw, and some messy black hair hung down. It was a suffocating beauty, especially at such a close distance. Our eyes met, and suddenly a scene flashed back in my mind. Last night, I drank too much. When Larry found me, I only had half of my sanity left. So I cried while drinking and finally seemed to get drunk and rode on him. I looked around and it seemed to be Larry's apartment. I stammered, "Larry, nothing happened last night, right?" There was still a bit of tiredness in Larry's eyes. Hearing this, he narrowed his eyes. The phone rang, and seeing that it was Catherine calling, I jumped up as if I had been electrocuted. "Hello?" Catherine asked strangely. "I sent you several messages. Why didn't you reply?" "I've already got off the plane and I'm on my way to your school." "Which building is your dormitory?" I was like, "Probably your brother's building." I didn't dare to say this even if I was beaten to death. I was extremely guilty and said, "I overslept and didn't hear it. I live in room 201, building 6. Catherine didn't suspect anything and said in a hurry, "It seems that my brother is quite responsible." "Okay, I'll be right there." After hanging up the phone, my mind was still in a daze. Suddenly, Larry's voice came from behind. "If you don't leave now, it'll be too late, right?" I was like, but Larry had already lifted the quilt and got up, and his abs flashed by. "I'll take you," I blushed and said. I can walk by myself." Larry looked at me. "Only when I send you there can I be considered responsible, right?" I still resigned myself to getting into Larry's car. It was still quite a distance from the school gate, so I told him to stop. "I can get off here." His car was too flashy. Larry looked at me and didn't say anything and stopped on the side of the road. Just as I stepped out with one foot, he suddenly reminded me from behind, "Button up your collar." I lowered my eyes and immediately my face turned red. There were several ambiguous red marks under my collarbone, which were really thought-provoking. "Oh, okay, then I'll go first." I fled the car with my hands and feet and didn't dare to look back. I rushed all the way to the school gate. Unexpectedly, I ran into Henry and Kate. The two were holding hands and looked very intimate. I don't know what Henry said, but Kate hit him and then laughed and fell on him. Seeing me, Henry's expression immediately became cold. Kate exclaimed, "Oh my." Her eyes wandered between the two of us, and then she took a step forward as if gathering her courage. "Flora, don't misunderstand. Henry and I really didn't mean to hurt you." Thinking that Larry might not have gone far, and if he saw this scene, I would be so embarrassed, I waved my hand and said, "It's okay, it's all in the past." Kate's expression froze for a moment as if she didn't expect me to have this reaction. Henry frowned and looked behind me and then said coldly, "Flora, even if we broke up, you don't have to do this kind of thing, right? You'll only make me look down on you." "What did I do? Why do you look down on me?" I didn't want to be the center of attention here, so I turned around and left. As a result, just after turning a corner, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. I grimaced and slowly squatted down while holding on to the corner of the wall. It hurt so much. No wonder I went crazy yesterday, a woman controlled by hormones all her life. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Larry. "I ordered you some hangover soup. It'll be here soon." I don't remember when I added him, at first, when Catherine had something and didn't dare to tell her parents. She always asked her brother for help, and I also added him, by the way, but now looking at this name, it was completely different. I tremblingly blocked him. After finally getting over that pain, I quickly got up and walked to the dormitory. Just after I finished packing, Catherine's call came. Flora, I'm downstairs in your dormitory. In this situation, I actually didn't dare to face Catherine, but since she was here, I could only bite the bullet and go downstairs as soon as she saw me. Catherine exclaimed, "Damn, why do you look so weak? What the hell did you do yesterday?" I was like, she said indignantly, "Just a breakup. Is it necessary?" It seemed that she didn't know anything. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, she took out her phone the next second. "Wait for me to call my brother. I have to ask him how he took care of you." My legs went weak and I quickly grabbed her hand. "No, he's fine. It has nothing to do with him. I'm just about to have my period." Catherine was skeptical. "Really? Fake?" But did I dare to say so? I covered my lower abdomen and said, "Yes, yes." Catherine curled her lips and said, "He's never even had a girlfriend. How could he take care of you?" If I hadn't really been unable to make it in time, I wouldn't have asked him. I was a bit skeptical. "No, Larry never had a girlfriend. Then why was he so, last night?" Flora, why is your face so red?" Catherine put the back of her hand on my face and said, "Don't you have a fever?" I quickly shook my head. Catherine looked at me and sighed. "It's just a man. In this world, it's hard to find a three-legged toad, but two-legged men are everywhere. That Henry is a scumbag. Don't think about him anymore, with your face and figure. It's his loss to miss you." Okay, Henry and I met during the freshman military training. He was quite handsome and played basketball very well. He had always been a popular figure in the school. He chased me for 3 months and I thought he was a nice person, so we got together. At first, it was also quite good. But later I found that he didn't refuse any of the girls who showed their affection to him, and we even had several quarrels. Because of this, he gradually became cold to me. The day before yesterday, I directly received a photo of him sleeping in a hotel bed with messy lipstick marks on his face. I went to question him and Henry directly proposed to break up. Damn, mentioning this matter makes me feel so aggrieved. It should have been me who dumped him, Catherine said angrily. "Where are those two scumbags? I'll go and avenge you." I was like, actually, I didn't really want to settle the score now. After all, it seemed that I also, forget it. I shook my head and said, "There's no need to waste time on this kind of person." Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It turned out to be the delivery guy. When I received that hangover soup, I was actually very embarrassed. Catherine took the receipt and said with admiration, "It's rare that my brother still knows how to send warmth." I thought, my brother's call. I immediately shuddered. Catherine had already answered the phone and said, "Hello, brother, do you have something to tell me?" I don't know what was said on the other side. The next second, she looked at me strangely and handed me the phone. "Flora, my brother is looking for you." My eyes went dark, but I still bit the bullet and took the phone. "Hello, I can't find my watch. See if it's in your bag." I was like, I quickly searched my bag in a hurry and sure enough, I felt a cold and hard watch. The star and moon pattern on it shone brightly, just like its price. Catherine was even more surprised and said, "Flora, why is my brother's watch in your bag?" My mind was in a mess and I only vaguely remembered that last night I pressed Larry's hand and deliberately played tricks and complained that his watch was hurting my leg. Looking at Catherine's blank eyes, I was extremely anxious and thought, "Quick, say something." Larry spoke first and said, "Yesterday I took off my watch and put it on the bar table and forgot to take it. I guess she didn't look carefully after getting drunk and took it away together." Catherine suddenly realized and said, "I see, brother, you're too careless. How could you just take off your watch in that kind of place? If it weren't for our Flora, you would have lost 7 figures. You should thank her." There was a moment of silence on the other side. I quickly said, no need." Thinking about why Larry took off his watch, I immediately blushed. After a moment, there seemed to be a chuckle on the other side. "I really should thank her. Flora, when are you free? I'll come to you after work to get the watch and treat you to dinner, by the way." I was just about to refuse when Catherine immediately nodded and said, "I know a very expensive new Japanese restaurant here. Let's go tonight." Larry readily agreed. After hanging up the phone, I still tried to struggle, but Catherine pressed me down. "Flora, you're so stupid. It's a waste not to take advantage of a capitalist like my brother." I had something hard to say, actually. I really took a lot of advantage last night. I heard that Larry started a business with his classmates in his sophomore year and became very successful in the internet industry. In just a few years, he became a rising star in the industry. Catherine was envious and jealous and resolutely wouldn't let go of any opportunity to squeeze her brother. I could only choose to agree. At the beginning of the new year, the commercial street was crowded with people and extremely lively, however. I was sitting in the luxuriously decorated private room and couldn't sit still until a clear and low voice came. Sorry, I had a meeting temporarily and I'm late. Larry was dressed in a suit and tie, with his coat hanging on his arm and a silk black shirt vaguely outlining his strong and slender waist. He was extremely restrained and ascetic. I quickly lowered my head. Catherine slightly narrowed her eyes and looked him up and down twice, then leaned forward and sniffed hard. Damn. Dressed like this, didn't you just finish fooling around with a woman? I clenched the teacup. It's okay. Larry has changed his clothes. It shouldn't be. Larry sat down opposite and raised his eyebrows when he heard this. His eyes swept over me vaguely and he said casually, so what if I did? Catherine was also stunned and then laughed out loud. Come on. She shook her phone and said, Mom complained to me yesterday that you're so old and still can't find a partner. I'm afraid you'll die alone and still looking for a woman. You're talking big without drafting, Larry sneered. I really couldn't stand it anymore and took out the watch from my bag and handed it to him with both hands. Larry, your watch. He took it and our slightly cool fingertips touched and it seemed that there was a spark flowing. Thanks. He casually put the watch back on his wrist and didn't look at me again. I breathed a sigh of relief. But an inexplicable sense of loss surged in my heart. Most of the following time, Catherine was the one talking and Larry only replied occasionally. He always had a cold and distant attitude towards others and had excellent family education, but there was always an untouchable sense of strangeness, perhaps because I was Catherine's good friend. He also took good care of me, but only to this extent. Halfway through the meal, my stomach still hurt, so I got up and went to the bathroom unexpectedly. After coming out of the bathroom, I bumped right into Larry, who was out in the corridor making a phone call. I nodded at him, intending to walk around him and go back to the private room, but the next second, he hung up the phone. Not feeling well, I was stunned. Larry stared at me and repeated the question, you don't look so good. What's wrong? I shook my head. No, I'm fine. He paused. Last night, I widened my eyes in alarm, like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. But then he changed the topic, his eyes dim. It's just a breakup. Do you really like him that much? I stammered. Not exactly. Henry was my first love. I thought I could have a nice relationship in college, but who knew I'd run into such a playboy scumbag? It wasn't like I was deeply in love and couldn't live without him. After all, we'd only been together for a little over a month, but the feeling of being toyed with, of his hot and cold attitude, was really awful, especially when he cheated on me. It was such a humiliation. I always felt inexplicably nervous around Larry, and it was even worse now. Larry, if there's nothing else, can I go back in? Larry raised an eyebrow. Why are you so nervous? I wasn't nervous. Larry glanced at the direction of the private room and said casually, you don't want my sister to know about us, do you? I was like, something about that statement didn't sound right, but I couldn't deny it. My heart skipped a beat. I really didn't mean to. I was just drunk and impulsive. Larry was tall. The ceiling light in the corridor cast a soft glow around him. His eyes were unfathomable, not giving away a single clue. But that seemed like just a momentary illusion, I know. He interrupted me impatiently, his voice indifferent. I just need a small favor from you. Finally, he looked at me. Pretend to be my girlfriend for a month. I thought I'd misheard. What? Larry looked calm and concise. You know my family has been pushing me to get married. True. Speaking of this, I couldn't help but feel a bit sorry for Larry. Larry's parents had been in love for years and had always hoped he could get married early and live a happy life, but things didn't go as planned. With his good looks and long legs, he had never brought a proper girlfriend home. His parents had even suspected that he might have issues with his sexual orientation. Later, Catherine vigorously vouched for her brother. She insisted that he had a crush on a girl, but the girl wasn't interested in him, so he was lovesick. Actually, everyone was skeptical about this, with Larry's conditions. Why would he be secretly in love? With that face, he could have any relationship he wanted. But with no other explanation, they chose to believe it. I'd been curious, but Catherine didn't know either. He has a hair tie of a girl's in his wallet, the kind that costs 3 yuan for 50 on Pinduoduo. I have no idea what's going on. Apparently, this year, Larry's mom had given the order and arranged several blind dates, waiting for him to go home and meet them one by one. Your parents know me. How can we pretend? Larry was relaxed. Just send a few photos of our backs. They won't need to see our faces. I was speechless. He tilted his head, as if examining my face. After a moment, he said in a low voice, they haven't seen you for a long time. You've become much prettier. They won't recognize you. My heart skipped a beat, and somehow, I nodded. Okay then. Larry seemed satisfied with my answer. The corners of his thin lips curled up slightly. Then take me out of the blacklist first. Catherine stayed with me for a day and then left. There was no other way. The final exams were coming up. I started to study hard for the exams, spending every day in the library. Once, I ran into Henry and Kate. They were almost treating the library like a hotel. I had no other thought than wanting to throw a bed at them right there. Although Larry asked me to be his pretend girlfriend for a month, he hardly contacted me after that day, after the last exam. I let out a long sigh and started packing to go home. Unexpectedly, I received a message from Larry. I'm at the gate of your school. Aren't you finishing your last exam today? I'll take you to the high-speed rail station. I belatedly realized that I'd posted my high-speed rail ticket in my moments just now. I wanted to cry but had no tears. No way. Was he that idle? He even remembered such a trivial thing. I was about to refuse, but Larry's next sentence convinced me. Having a girlfriend but no couple photos doesn't seem right. Does it? You have a point. Half an hour later. I dragged my suitcase and got into Larry's car again. The atmosphere was weird, and Larry was the first to break the silence. How did the exams go? I quickly replied, not bad. I might even get a scholarship. Larry glanced at me through the mirror. Are you short of money? I shook my head. It's always good to earn some pocket money. Larry nodded and didn't ask further. When we arrived at the high-speed rail station, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Just as I was about to get out of the car, Larry suddenly grabbed my hand. Wait, let's take a photo. I understood. To show your parents, right? Okay, just a sec. I took off the pink crystal bead bracelet that Catherine gave me and intertwined my fingers with his. Larry was stunned. I felt a bit strange and nervous. What's wrong? Is this not appropriate? Should we change it? That's how couples in those official announcements take photos in the car. No need. Larry tightened his grip on my hand and took out his phone to take a picture. He stared at the photo for a few seconds and said, "It's good." After he let go, I secretly curled my fingertips. His hands had distinct knuckles, and they were very warm. There was a bit of sweat on his palm. Just holding hands. Why was I so nervous? I suppressed my fluttering emotions and said goodbye to him. I'll go first then. Larry nodded. Have a safe trip. Remember to let me know when you arrive. It was already night when I got home. Just as I reached downstairs, I heard fierce quarreling. I hesitated for a moment and then went upstairs. Just as I was about to knock on the door was open from the inside, and a glass flew out at the same time. Get out. I instinctively dodged, but my forehead still got grazed. My dad, who walked out next, gave me a cold look and then left without hesitation. I looked inside. My mom's face was red, full of resentment. The room was in a mess. I walked around the broken pieces on the ground and went to help her. Mom, she seemed like a tightly strung string that suddenly snapped. Tears poured out, and she sobbed. I was so blind to marry such a man. I handed her a pack of tissues and cleaned the room, putting everything back in place. After all this, my mom finally calmed down and started crying about what had led to this quarrel. Just like every time over the years, two completely different people together was torture for both. She cried herself to sleep, and I finally had time to take out my phone. There were several missed calls from Larry. I was hesitating whether to call back when he called again. I ran to the balcony to answer the phone and lowered my voice. Hello. Larry seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, with a hint of reproach. I told you to message me when you got home. Why didn't you answer my calls? I explained in a low voice. I'm sorry. I was busy just now and didn't hear it. Larry paused. Have you been crying? No. I sniffed. Maybe I caught a cold from the wind on the way back. Larry didn't press further. It's good that you're home. There was a lot of noise on the other end of the phone. He seemed to be at a business dinner. Mr. Lawrence, still on the phone with your girlfriend? A sweet, teasing female voice came. Larry hummed. She's too clingy, can't help it. The woman's voice seemed to carry a bit of unwillingness and embarrassment. Oh, okay. I won't disturb you then. The woman seemed to leave, and the noise faded. I got it and texted him. Are you using me to avoid drinking? Larry replied casually. I don't want to drink, just getting some fresh air. Since I'd promised to be his pretend girlfriend, it seemed normal to be his shield. Afraid there were still people listening, I cleared my throat. Then don't drink too much. He was stunned, then laughed. Don't worry. I can hold my liquor better than you. I couldn't help but hang up the phone angrily. This call dispelled my gloomy mood. I let out a long sigh and went to take a bath. While blow-drying my hair, I received a message from Catherine. Flora, how's it going at home? I replied. The same as always, since I could remember. My parents had often quarreled, sometimes even getting physical. Later, after meeting Catherine, she often invited me to her home when she knew about it. Forget it. You're in college now. You should have your own life. There's no need to bear their pain. Catherine took a while to type, then changed the topic. By the way, I just heard huge news. My brother has a girlfriend. Holy crap, with his straight guy personality. Can he even handle a relationship? Actually, I wasn't so sure either. With his looks, he could find anyone to cooperate with. Why me? My acting skills were subpar, and I knew his family. With your brother's conditions, it should be easy for him to date someone. Catherine was dismissive. I don't believe it. When he comes back for the new year, I have to see what's really going on. Afraid of giving myself away if we kept talking, I asked about her final exams. Sure enough, Catherine wailed, I'm doomed. I can't rely on my brother to help me cram like before. Studying one course a day was so hard. After that day, my dad came back on New Year's Eve morning. He wanted to divorce my mom. The two of them started fighting again, attacking each other with the nastiest words. I've had enough of you. If it weren't for Flora, I'd have left long ago. You just want to be with that slut. Don't think I don't know you've been hooking up. You're shameless. I must have done something evil in my past life to end up with you. My mom cursed and raised her hand to slap my dad. My dad pushed her to the ground. Enough. Who can live with a shrew like you? I've already drafted the divorce agreement. Just sign it. I rushed forward to help my mom. My dad pointed at me. Also, Flora will stay with you. She's an adult now. I won't pay a cent for child support. My mom's eyes immediately turned red. She shook off my hand and screeched. You want to completely get rid of us so you can live a carefree life. Dream on. She has your surname. She's your daughter. Who else would she stay with? Don't try to push her to me. Half an hour later, the police finally ended this farce. When we came out of the police station's mediation room, it was already evening. My parents went their separate ways. I blew on my frozen hands and said calmly, don't worry, I'm an adult. I can live a good life on my own. I won't be a burden to you. After that, I booked a flight back to school. It was almost New Year's. The airport was decorated with festive elements, bustling with people. I sat in the waiting hall, aimlessly scrolling through moments. When I scrolled to Catherine's post, I paused. In the bright and spacious kitchen, Larry's parents were making dumplings. Catherine pinched a piece of crispy fried meat and had thick red envelopes in her pocket. The caption read, "The gambler never loses." I gave it a like. Catherine immediately sent me a red envelope. Catherine, quick, take it. This is the money I won. I bet with my parents that my brother's girlfriend is fake. My parents asked him to bring his girlfriend home, but he kept making excuses, saying he had to work overtime during the new year and wouldn't come back. I knew he was feeling guilty. Where on earth would he find a girlfriend? As she said that, she sent a photo, which was exactly the picture of me and Larry holding hands. Look at this. It's so fake. Clearly, it's been heavily photoshopped. I guiltily shrank my neck. Since it was just pretend, I hadn't really done much, and that photo obviously wasn't very convincing. I sent a message to Larry. I didn't manage to fool your parents, did I? Larry was busy with something. After quite a while, he actually called me. I subconsciously answered. Hello, Larry said. How did you know? Suddenly, he paused. Why is it so noisy on your end? Where are you? I'm. Just as I was trying to come up with an excuse, the gentle and sweet female voice of the flight announcement suddenly rang out. Passengers of Air China CA 4126, please note that boarding has commenced. Oh no, it was too late. Larry had clearly guessed. You're at the airport. What are you doing there at this hour? I was a bit helpless. It's nothing. It's my flight back to school. I'll be there in an hour and a half. Larry's tone was a bit stern. Don't be so childish. It's too dangerous for you to go back to school alone at this time. Go home first. There was already a long queue for boarding. I stood up. In front of me was a family of 3. The little girl was only 4 or 5 years old, chirping happily while holding her parents' hands. It was such a happy scene. Larry, I suddenly felt exhausted and said in a low voice, I don't have a home anymore. After hanging up the phone and boarding the plane, I wanted to take a nap but couldn't fall asleep. Looking at the pitch-black night sky outside, I was a bit distracted. Actually, Henry broke up with me because he accidentally overheard my phone call with my mom. My mom was complaining that my dad hadn't been home for a long time and asked me to ask my dad for living expenses. Henry had been holding a grudge against me ever since, and it wasn't long before he got together with Kate. He thought he could control me, that no matter how he treated me, I wouldn't dare to break up with him. But he was wrong. Unlike my mom, I wouldn't tolerate a cheating man. It was already 11 p.m. when I got off the plane. The subway had stopped, so I could only take a taxi. I took out my phone and found over a dozen missed calls and messages. They were all from Larry. The latest one was sent half an hour ago. I'm in parking lot B2 at the airport. Come find me after you get off the plane. I was stunned. Larry was here. Flora, a familiar deep voice came from in front. My heart skipped a beat, and I slowly looked up, outside the exit. There was a crowd of people waiting to pick up passengers. He was standing there, tall and straight in a well-tailored suit, extremely eye-catching. The moment he saw me, he seemed to breathe a long sigh of relief, and the coldness in his eyes dissipated a little. Before I could even process what was happening, he had already walked towards me with big strides. How did you? He took my suitcase and held my hand at the same time. I was worried you'd get lost. His broad and warm palm seemed to carry a reassuring power. For some reason, I didn't pull my hand away until we got to the parking lot. A young woman in an exquisite OL suit got out of the car. She looked about 26 or 27, with big wavy chestnut hair and perfect makeup. Looking charming and beautiful, she first looked at Larry, then turned her gaze to me and covered her mouth, giggling delicately. "Mr. Lawrence, is this your little girlfriend? Is she even an adult? How could you do this?" It was obvious that she was very familiar with Larry, and that voice, it sounded like the woman who was at the business dinner with Larry on the phone last time, and at this moment, I was wearing a thick cotton-padded coat, a bear scarf, and dragging a suitcase. Looking completely disheveled, suddenly, I felt extremely embarrassed and at a loss. Thanks, back to the house. I was stunned. The house, wasn't that where Larry lived? Last time, after I got drunk, that was. The woman was also stunned. Her eyes lingered on me meaningfully for a moment, then she quickly regained her pretty smile. Okay, who wouldn't listen to Mr. Lawrence? Larry thanked her, with an extra person in the car. I was too embarrassed to ask why he wasn't taking me back to school. So I just stayed quiet like a quail. It was the woman who started talking to Larry about the company's business again. After listening for a while, I realized that she was Larry's partner, Jane. There was supposed to be a dinner party today, but Larry left suddenly. Since he'd had some wine, Jane offered to drive. After a while, Jane glanced at the rearview mirror and exclaimed, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so focused on talking about the project with Mr. Lawrence. Are you bored? Was this?" Hinting that I was a kid who couldn't understand anything. No, I shook my head. I like listening to whatever Larry talks about. Jane's face froze. Larry, on the other hand, seemed a bit surprised and glanced at me. I gave him a sweet smile. Since I'd already failed to convince his parents last time, I had to succeed in showing off our affection today and make Larry feel it was worth it. After that, Jane lost interest and didn't talk anymore. It wasn't until she saw Larry and I getting out of the car together that she frowned slightly. "Mr. Lawrence, aren't you coming back? Mr. Smith and the others are still. It's too late. I'm worried about her being alone at home." Larry interrupted her. "I've already told them. I'll visit them in person another day. The cooperation won't be delayed." Jane pursed her red lips, hesitant to speak. Larry very naturally held my hand. "Go back early too. Don't delay the new year." Sitting in the spacious living room, I was still in a daze. Larry poured a glass of water. "You've been tired all day. Rest for a while." I wasn't sleepy, holding the glass of water. I was a bit nervous. "Larry, did I disrupt your important business today?" He didn't go home for the new year. He was probably busy with this project, but my arrival messed things up. Larry took off his suit and casually hung it aside. A faint smell of alcohol wafted out. He carelessly tugged at his tie. "No." He always seemed so calm and composed, as if everything was under control. I hesitated for a long time. Then, "Larry, does Jane like you?" Larry paused and looked over. My heart suddenly tightened. Why did I ask this question? I'm not anyone special to him. Larry asked back, "So what if she does? So what if she doesn't?" I was speechless. It seemed it had nothing to do with me. Nothing. Just a guess. You can't hide it when you like someone, especially when that woman didn't even try to hide it. But Larry didn't seem interested in her. "Larry, did you ask me to be your pretend girlfriend because of her too?" Larry narrowed his eyes. I looked myself up and down, feeling a bit dejected. "Oh no, with me like this, she definitely won't take me seriously." Larry suddenly laughed. "You think so?" I sighed. "Am I pretty useless, otherwise? Why didn't my parents want me?" Larry was slightly stunned, and his smile gradually faded. After a long while, he said, "No, you're very nice." My heart skipped a beat, and I subconsciously looked up, only to find Larry looking at me seriously. I panicked and looked away. The room was too quiet, and an inexplicably ambiguous atmosphere seemed to be growing. I became even more restless. There was no way. Everything here would remind me of the memories I deliberately tried to forget. Fortunately, Larry didn't let me stay awkward for long. He turned and went to the kitchen. "I don't cook often. There are only dumplings." "You'll have to make do." Huh? Was he going to cook for me? I jumped up and immediately rushed over. "You've already done so much for me today. Let me do it." Just then, Larry's phone rang. He looked at me. "It's a video call from Catherine." I quickly pushed him out, motioning for him to not mention that I was here. Larry went to the living room to answer the call. I could tell his attitude was as laid back as ever. "What's up?" Catherine's voice came through intermittently. It seemed they were talking about family matters. I stared at the boiling water in the pot, my mood complicated. How come it felt like I was really Larry's secret lover? Larry's video call didn't last long. I scooped out the dumplings. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside the window, scaring me. I looked up and saw gorgeous fireworks lighting up outside the window. Oh, I almost forgot. It was New Year's Eve today, with the ringing of the New Year's bell. The sky was filled with extremely brilliant fireworks, reaching a peak of splendor. "Flora," Larry suddenly called out. I turned around. He was leaning against the kitchen island, his long legs looking out of place, and a faint smile on his thin lips. "Happy New Year." I never thought that it would be Larry spending this New Year's Eve with me. There was laughter on the TV, the fireworks outside were dazzling, and the dumplings on the table were still steaming. I was in a daze for a moment. It was as if I had a home again. I woke up early the next morning to find that Larry had already left. He left a note. "I'm on a business trip. I'll probably be gone for a week. Stay here comfortably. I've also ordered food for you. Remember to eat." He was really busy. I sent him a thank you on iMessage. He didn't reply. He was probably on the plane, from what Jane said last night. His sudden cancellation this time would cause a lot of extra trouble to make up for. Staying alone in Larry's large flat felt really strange. I thought about it, tidied up the room, and then dragged my suitcase back to school. Unexpectedly, as soon as I got to the dormitory, I received some explosive news from Catherine. "Damn it, I think my brother really has a woman." My heart skipped a beat. "What makes you say that?" Catherine was extremely excited. "He didn't come home yesterday. I specifically called him on video to ask for lucky money. Guess what? There were 2 water glasses on the coffee table in his living room, and I think I also saw the shadow of a woman on the kitchen floor in the corner of the video." As she said that, she also sent a screenshot of the video. Larry probably didn't notice that half of my shoe was in the picture. It was the pair of Larry's slippers I was wearing. My heart skipped a beat. This doesn't seem to prove anything, right? Maybe it was a friend. He actually let this woman wear his slippers. I almost got skinned alive when I wore his slippers once. Who on earth is this woman? How did she manage to tame my brother? Catherine was itching with curiosity. "I really want to go over there right now and find out." I blurted out. "He's on a business trip. You won't be able to see him even if you go." As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I had made a mistake. Sure enough, Catherine immediately seized on the loophole. "How do you know he's on a business trip?" I stammered. I just overheard it by accident." "He told you, didn't he?" "You forgot." "Really? I don't remember." Catherine was a bit skeptical, but soon let it go. "Forget it. When he gets back, I'll definitely ask him properly." After hanging up the phone, I lay on the bed, staring at Larry's profile picture in a daze. His moments were empty, just like him, aloof and unfathomable. Suddenly, he sent me a message. "I've landed." I felt relieved and sent OK emoji. "Larry." I took a strange look and almost had a heart attack. There were words on the OK emoji that was automatically sent. "Okay, baby." My face turned bright red, and I frantically long pressed to delete it. I was despairing inside. Larry's typing status showed for a while, but in the end, he sent a simple, "Yeah." I stared at this character, racking my brains. I felt like his message was a bit ambiguous, but then I thought I might be overthinking it. He probably wouldn't misunderstand, right? Maybe he just thought it was a random emoji sent by a kid. I tossed and turned, but I was too embarrassed to ask, so I could only pretend nothing had happened. A week later, Larry returned to UFU when he found I wasn't there. I had to tell him the truth that I'd gone back to school. Larry didn't say much, but after that, instead of our contact fading away, we talked more often than before. Sometimes it was when he was going to a meeting, sometimes it was during a dinner, and he'd also remind me to go to bed early when I was staying up late at night. I got a part-time job as a mascot in the city square. It killed time and I could earn some living expenses. This went on until the new semester started. On the first day, I heard some gossip. Henry and Kate had broken up. Kate went straight to block Henry at his dormitory building, crying and calling him a scumbag. It was a really ugly scene. When Catherine heard about it, she was thrilled. "Are there any pictures? Let me have a look and laugh." I spread my hands. How would I have such dirty stuff on my phone? Having dated such a man was like a black mark on my record. Catherine curled her lips. "True, it's been so boring lately. Ugh. I've been prying into my brother's business for ages, but I still haven't found out who that woman is. He's hiding it so well, as if he's deliberately keeping it from me." Suddenly, I remembered that the 1-month agreement between Larry and me had expired, but Larry had been really busy since the new year, and since he hadn't mentioned it, I didn't feel right bringing it up. How could I even start that conversation? Fortunately, Catherine didn't dwell on it and asked excitedly, "By the way, Flora, your birthday is coming up. What do you want for your birthday present? Can I come and celebrate your birthday?" I was happy at first, but then I hesitated. But wouldn't that be too much trouble? She'd flown all the way here during New Year's Day, and it hadn't been long. I really felt bad about making her come again. Catherine was a bit disappointed, but we didn't even see each other during Christmas. Our families lived on the east and west sides of the city respectively. She'd wanted to visit me during the winter vacation, but I'd refused with the excuse that my parents had been arguing a lot lately. She understood and didn't ask me out again. Just as I was hesitating, she made the decision. It's okay. I can also take this opportunity to secretly investigate my brother's situation. My parents will reimburse my plane ticket. They said that as long as I can get a clear photo of my brother's girlfriend, there'll be a huge reward. I had mixed feelings. On one hand, I wanted to exchange my selfie for some money, and on the other hand, I felt it was no different from printing counterfeit money. How could I deceive people like this? I dismissed those chaotic thoughts, counted my little savings, and planned to use the money from my part-time job to buy a present for Catherine. I made time to go to the mall and also wanted to pick something for Larry as a thank you for taking me in on New Year's Eve. But I never expected to run into Larry there. He was standing in front of the counter, with Jane beside him. The two of them, a handsome man and a beautiful woman, were very eye-catching. Even the saleswoman was looking at them with a big smile. "Sir, are you choosing a present for your girlfriend?" Larry pointed. "Show me that bracelet." He didn't deny it. He actually didn't deny it. My heart suddenly felt empty, like a bucket of cold water had been poured over my head, and I felt chilled all over. Suddenly, Larry seemed to sense something and looked back. I quickly turned around and hid. It was strange. I hadn't done anything wrong, but I felt so guilty at this moment. I fled in a panic, but at the corner, I bumped into someone. I'm sorry. As I apologized, someone grabbed my arm. Flora. I looked up and was shocked to see that the person I'd bumped into was Henry. Not wanting to get entangled with them, I turned to leave. But Henry seemed to be intrigued. "I just saw you picking something out. You probably can't afford the brands here, can you?" I frowned. "None of your business." Henry actually followed me and said with a smile, "Haven't seen you for a while. You seem even more beautiful. It's fate that we met. Just tell me what you want. As long as you're willing to come back to me, I'll buy it for you." "Is this guy crazy?" I said expressionlessly. "I'm not interested in getting back together. I'm sorry about what happened before." But I was just confused for a moment. Who knew that Kate was such a drama queen? Henry was clearly still resentful and reached out to touch my waist. "She's not as good as you. You're more sensible." Slap. I slapped him directly. "Henry, show some respect. I have nothing to do with you anymore. If you keep this up, don't blame me for being rude." After I lost my temper a few times, he lost patience and then turned to Kate. Henry's face changed. He touched his face and sneered in anger, playing the innocent. "You can do it with others, but not with me." I felt a lump in my throat. "What on earth are you talking about?" "What?" I hit the nail on the head. "And you're getting angry out of embarrassment." Gradually, people around started looking over and whispering, "Oh my, what's wrong with this young girl? She can do such shameless things. Just because she's young and pretty, she forgets who she is. People like this will get their comeuppance sooner or later. I really can't tell. She looks so well behaved, but she's so wild and private." I couldn't defend myself. It was almost impossible to clear my name in this situation. Henry gave a smug smile. "I don't mind, but you're still not satisfied. If the people at school find out, how are you going to stay there?" As he said that, he held on tighter. "I think you'd better come with me." Suddenly, a cold voice came. "Let her go." My heart skipped a beat, and I looked in the direction of the voice. Larry had arrived at some point, his expression cold, as if frost had settled on his brows. I'd never seen him with such an expression. Henry glanced at him and seemed to be intimidated by his aura. Who are you?" "My girlfriend and I are arguing." "It's none of your business." Larry's thin lips curved into a cold arc. "You say, she's your girlfriend?" Jane tried to persuade. "Mr. Lawrence, don't stoop to his level. Let's talk it out." Larry suddenly strode forward. Henry seemed afraid and instinctively let go and took a step back. What do you want?" "I'm warning you." But Larry didn't even spare him a glance and walked straight to stand in front of me. He looked at me for a moment before asking, "Where did he hurt you?" Under his calm tone was an unmistakable chill. Jane also seemed a bit anxious and trotted over. "Mr. Lawrence, there are too many people here." But Larry just waited for my answer. I gently shook my head. "Nowhere." Larry didn't move. Clearly, he didn't believe me. I didn't want to drag him into this and looked up at him pleadingly. "I want to go back to school." Larry finally relented. "I'll take you back." "How long has he been pestering you like this?" "In the car on the way back." Larry spoke first. I sighed. "He hasn't before. It was just a coincidence that we ran into each other today. I don't know what got into him." Seeing that there was still some lingering coldness on his face, I added, "Don't worry, I didn't suffer any losses." Thinking about how I failed to buy the presents today, I felt a bit helpless. "Also, about this matter, please don't tell Catherine, okay?" With Catherine's hot temper, if she knew, she'd definitely go and settle the score with Henry. It's better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Suddenly, Larry stepped on the brakes and pulled over. I was a bit confused. Larry, after staying quiet for a long time, Larry finally asked, Flora, are you always so easy to bully? I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. Looking at his cold and sharp-side profile, an indescribable discomfort welled up deep in my heart. My chest felt blocked, stuffy and damp. I took a deep breath, suppressing the inexplicable grievance, and asked casually, Larry, is it okay to just leave Sister Jane there? Larry frowned. What? I immediately shut my mouth and looked out of the window, but Larry seemed to suddenly realize something and narrowed his eyes slightly. You saw, just now, my palms were sweating with nervousness. It was an easy question to answer, but for some reason, I couldn't utter a single word. After a long silence, Larry suddenly let out a light laugh. Flora, he sounded like he was joking, yet also extremely certain. Are you jealous? I forced myself to look back at him and racked my brains to come up with some nonsense. I just think that we previously agreed to pretend to be your girlfriend. If you have someone you like, it would be better to let me know. So as to avoid misunderstandings, Larry rested one hand on the steering wheel, his long fingers tapping gently, listening leisurely. Yeah, anything else? I couldn't come up with anything more. I moved my gaze away in embarrassment. I felt that all my little thoughts were laid bare under his gaze, with nowhere to hide, nothing. I held my breath. Maybe I'm overthinking. You don't really need to tell me that much. First of all, she and I are just ordinary colleagues in a cooperative relationship. Larry interrupted me. Secondly, that bracelet wasn't for her. I was a bit dazed. Larry paused. Finally, I do have someone I like. My heart sank suddenly. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Catherine calling. I actually felt a sense of relief. It's Catherine calling. I'll get out of the car first. It's not far from school. I can walk back. Without waiting for Larry to say anything, I quickly pushed the car door open, got out, and answered the call at the same time. Hello, Catherine. Catherine was indignant. Flora, that scumbag is crazy, right? How dare he treat you like that? What? You still don't know? Someone took a video at the mall. I recognized that jerk Henry harassing you at first glance. I frowned. Send it to me. Catherine sent the link. I clicked on it. It seemed to be a video shot from the second floor, showing the part where Henry and I were arguing. It already had over 1,000 likes. The tags were mistress, being kept, female college student. Catherine was fuming. I've already started arguing with them in the comments section. This person is clearly trying to attract traffic. I exited the video. It's okay, I'm upright. I don't need to care about such slander. How can that be? False rumors spread like wildfire. Catherine was very anxious. What if people start believing it? She racked her brains. That Maybach Henry mentioned. If I'm not wrong, it's my brother's car, right? I couldn't deny it. I could only nod. Yes, that's fine. Catherine's mood instantly brightened. I'll just ask my brother to help you clarify later. Before I could react, she hung up. I was a bit uneasy. That's too much trouble, let's forget it. Catherine replied 10 minutes later. Done. What do you mean, done? My brother has already promised to help. Larry, help, but he's already helped. This, near the school gate, I gradually noticed people looking at me. No way. Did the video spread that fast? I was a bit restless. Just as I was about to quicken my pace to go back, I suddenly heard a car honk behind me. I looked back. A familiar black Maybach was at a short, neither too close nor too far distance from me. I didn't know how long it had been following me. The car window rolled down, and Larry called out to me. Flora, my ears tingled. He parked the car, opened the door, and got out. A low murmur of amazement came from the surrounding crowd. Damn, so handsome. Who is he? He doesn't seem to be from our school. Of course not. He looks like a successful businessman. I thought the car was cool, but he's even cooler. I mean, none of the guys in our school can compare. He seems to have been following that girl for a while. What does it mean? Is he coaxing his angry girlfriend? Me, watching him approach step by step, my eyes gradually widened. No, something seems a bit off. Larry, I was at a loss. Why haven't you left yet? Larry lifted his chin. I'll walk you to your dormitory. Then wouldn't I be the talk of the whole school? At the thought of that scene, I firmly refused. No, I know the way to the dormitory. I can walk by myself. Suddenly, a faint coolness touched my forehead. I was stunned. It was snowing. Larry suddenly raised his hand and put my hat on my head. The large hat immediately blocked most of my vision. Larry's gaze lingered on my lips for a second, then quickly moved away. They're spreading rumors about you, right? If I chase after you, the rumors will naturally be dispelled. My heart skipped a beat. Does he even know what he's saying? Those people were spreading rumors that I had an unclear relationship with an old rich guy in a luxury car. Now that he showed up, the old guy part might disappear. But he's so handsome. Wouldn't it just turn into rumors that I have an unclear relationship with a handsome rich guy? Sure enough, as soon as I got back to the dormitory, my roommates surrounded me. Flora, who was that guy just now? So handsome, is he chasing you? Spill it. When did you two hook up? I scratched my head. He's the brother of a friend. My friend asked him to take care of me a bit. That's all there is to it. They didn't believe me. How could that be? The way he looked at you was far from innocent. My heart skipped a beat, but I didn't dare to think too much. If it weren't for Catherine, he and I probably would never have crossed paths. What's more, he said he already had someone he liked. Seeing that I wasn't interested in talking, they finally stopped asking. I thought this matter would pass, but unexpectedly, starting from the next day, a bouquet of flowers was delivered to our dormitory every morning. It was signed by Larry. I gradually got a bit annoyed. Since he doesn't like me, why is he doing this? My birthday was on the weekend. Catherine would be arriving soon. I finally summoned the courage to send Larry a message. Larry, please don't send any more flowers. The classmates already know that those were just rumors, and if he kept sending them, they'd start saying that a rich and handsome guy was head over heels for me and pestering me. Larry only replied, I got it. On Sunday, he finally didn't send any more flowers. I breathed a sigh of relief, but an indescribable sense of loss welled up. Forget it, he's already done more than enough. What more could I expect? Putting these thoughts aside, I changed my clothes, put on light makeup, and picked up Catherine to go to the pre-booked restaurant. I also ordered an extra bottle of red wine. I raised my glass to her. Catherine, thank you for coming to celebrate my birthday with me. In this world, probably only she remembered that it was my birthday today, but Catherine took my wine away and asked hesitantly, Flora, you don't seem very happy. What happened? I saw that the video has been taken down. It didn't cause you any trouble, did it? The alcohol went to my head, and I felt a bit dizzy. I murmured in a low voice, I feel like I've lost my love. No, I never had a relationship. At this moment, I finally dared to face my true feelings. I had already fallen in love with Larry long ago, but he doesn't like me. Catherine was a bit confused. What, are you telling me that you, with such a beautiful face, are secretly in love? Which guy is so blind? I couldn't say a word, just looking at her. Catherine quickly said, okay, let's not talk about this. After today, it'll all be bygones. Hey, don't mention you. I'm also quite frustrated. She poured herself a glass of wine and sighed. I've been investigating for so long, but I still don't know what my brother's girlfriend looks like. He hasn't mentioned it for a while. Maybe he got dumped. She snorted. I originally planned to sneak attack his place, but he said he wasn't home and asked me to wait. I'm not waiting. I stood him up. Out of the corner of my eye, a tall and straight figure was approaching. I sat up straight. Catherine, do you mean your brother knows you're here? Catherine didn't notice anything. Yeah, I told him I was coming to celebrate your birthday. Let him be lonely. Me. She was a little puzzled. What's wrong? Why do you look like that? I stood up, stuttering. Larry. Catherine's eyes widened suddenly. The atmosphere seemed to freeze. I was late because of a company meeting. Don't mind. Larry placed a box on the table. Also, happy birthday. I felt awkward. Thank you, Larry. Larry sat down beside Catherine very calmly, put his coat aside, and then looked at Catherine. Why don't you greet people? Catherine was almost in tears. Clearly, Larry had heard what she said just now, but she was always adaptable. Her expression changed, and she immediately put on an obsequious smile. I never expected my dear brother to condescend to come. It's really, Flora is having her birthday. What are you thanking for? Catherine finally shrank back obediently, still secretly pouting. After dealing with her, Larry then looked at me, just as I was repeatedly thinking about whether I had said anything I shouldn't have. Larry lifted his chin. This is your birthday present. See if you like it. I had mixed feelings. I didn't want to have any more contact with Larry, but when I saw him coming, I couldn't help but feel secretly happy, so spineless. With Larry watching, I could only take the box and open it. Thank you, Larry. Actually, I'm very grateful that you came. You didn't need to prepare a present. My voice trailed off. A diamond bracelet lay quietly in the velvet box, serene and dazzling. Catherine, sitting across from me and unable to see, was curious. Flora, what did my brother give you? I slowly looked up. Larry was leaning against the back of the chair. The moment our eyes met, the corners of his thin lips lifted slightly. Do you like it? I asked a friend to help pick it out for you. My breathing stopped for an instant. So that's how it was. So, when Larry went to the mall that day, he was specifically choosing a birthday present for me. Back then, when the saleswoman asked if he was choosing a gift for his girlfriend, he didn't deny it. Catherine craned her neck. What is it? So mysterious? Flora, if you don't like it, just say so. I'll ask my brother to exchange it. I subconsciously closed the box and lowered my eyes. I like it. Thank you, Larry. After that, I was fidgety the whole time, not to mention how expensive the bracelet was. What did it mean that Larry had gone to pick it out on purpose? I made an excuse to go to the bathroom and secretly sent Larry a message. Larry, the bracelet is too precious. I can't accept it. Half a minute later, Larry replied, didn't you say you liked it? If you didn't want to accept it, why didn't you say so just now? How could I say it with Catherine right there? If I explained even one more sentence, she would definitely sense that something was wrong. I thought of several more reasons, but Larry didn't reply again. I couldn't stay away from the table for too long, so I had to go out again. Unexpectedly, Larry was outside. I was startled. Larry, with one hand in his pocket, his back straight, he looked at me with deep eyes. Flora, can't you really tell? I was stunned. What? He seemed to sigh softly, speaking word by word. All this time, it's been you that I like. Don't you know, people were coming and going in the restaurant, and the lights were bright, but at this moment, everything seemed like a silent movie on mute, and only he was in color. Every word was deeply engraved in my mind. There was no way to escape. My hands helplessly clutched the corner of my clothes, and I touched the hard square box. The bracelet he gave was still inside. My heart was pounding out of control. I guess my face must be very red, as if it was burning. But why me? Larry countered. Why can't it be you? I was a bit dazed. My phone vibrated. I looked down. It was Catherine. Flora, you've been gone for so long. Are you feeling unwell? I started speaking in a flustered manner. Catherine is urging me. Shall we go back first? Larry stepped forward and blocked my way. If you say you don't like me, then after today, I won't disturb your life anymore. He bent down slightly, as if trying to see into my heart. Flora, have you, even just a little bit, had feelings for me? How could I not? Falling in love with Larry was the easiest thing in the world. I couldn't quite remember when it started. Was it his gentle and broad embrace in the bar? His taking me in and keeping me company on New Year's Eve, or him firmly protecting me behind him, or even earlier, I didn't know. Probably because he was too close, I could hardly breathe. I subconsciously stepped back, trying to get some thin oxygen. Unexpectedly, I sprained my ankle, and a sharp pain shot through it. Losing my balance, I uncontrollably fell towards the ground. I closed my eyes in fear, but suddenly felt a tight grip around my waist. The next moment, I was pulled into a firm and warm embrace. Larry held my waist with one hand and the back of my neck with the other, his brow slightly furrowed. Why are you so careless? Did you sprain your ankle? Still in shock, I tightly grasped his shirt. I think so. Suddenly, a familiar exclamation came. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately looked back. Catherine was shocked, her disbelieving eyes darting back and forth between me and Larry. When did you two become like this? I subconsciously broke free and was about to explain when Larry interrupted me. He held me by the waist, calm and composed. When were we not like this? I was like, was something wrong? I couldn't help asking. I don't think I've answered yet. Larry looked at me, thoughtful, and then nodded very tolerantly. Now you can answer, obviously greatly shocked. Catherine's eyes became a bit dazed. She hesitated. Am I a bit of a third wheel now? Larry said, yes. She straightened her neck. This is my best friend. Of course I have to supervise when someone is chasing her. Larry raised an eyebrow. Fine. Then he took out something from his pocket, a watch. The one he left in my bag before. The one just now was your birthday present. And this one, I wanted to give it to you earlier, but at that time, a string in my mind suddenly tensed. Wait a minute. I turned to Catherine and ordered, Catherine, please avoid for a while. Catherine was like, I put my hands together. Please, if I listen any further, it's not suitable for kids. I still want my reputation. Catherine pouted and left reluctantly. I breathed a sigh of relief. When I turned around, I met Larry's teasing eyes. I got angry and couldn't help hitting him. You did it on purpose. Larry was calm. Yes, but it's also true that I wanted to give you this watch before. I was speechless. Larry slightly lowered his eyes, and his long eyelashes cast a faint shadow. At that time, I thought that when I confessed to you, I should have a nice gift, but it was too rushed back then, and all I had was this watch. I opened my eyes wide in disbelief. Do you mean, you already? At that time, Larry took my hand and put the watch on my wrist gently, with a serious expression, but it all happened too fast. When you opened your eyes, you said nothing happened, clearly not intending to give me a chance. Click, he fastened the watch strap. I looked down, looking at this watch seriously for the first time, a dark blue dial, with the moon and stars embracing each other, surrounded by twinkling bright lights. I bought this watch because it matches your name very well. Flora, it's like the surging tide in the night, a secret hidden for who knows how long, day after day, year after year, surging powerfully. Finally, in a certain month and year, it came overwhelmingly, and love swallowed everything. Now, it can finally be on your wrist. Larry bent down, looking at me at eye level. Little friend Flora, would you like to come home with me? After I got together with Larry, the first thing we did was to apologize to Catherine, but Catherine didn't care at all and screeched, I'm going to ask my parents for the bonus. What's a photo of my brother's girlfriend? It's all thanks to me that my brother found his girlfriend. I was like, Larry directly handed her a bank card. Be quiet and go away, when she was about to leave. Catherine suddenly turned back and leaned close to my ear to whisper, "My brother is already this old. Is he still okay? Don't let yourself be at a disadvantage, sister. Thanks, I guess." Finally, Catherine rolled her eyes at her brother. "Lucky you, old guy." Then she left with the card. Larry raised an eyebrow. "Think I'm old?" I shook my head desperately. "No, absolutely not. You're in the prime of your life." I regretted it right after I said it. Larry's eyes became dangerous. "Need me to help you recall?" I took off running. A burning old house is untouchable. During the summer vacation, my parents finally got the divorce agreement and separated completely. I went home with Larry. Larry's parents made a big, sumptuous dinner and kept holding my hand, smiling and chatting. We thought Larry would be a bachelor for life. Fortunately, Flora doesn't mind. I had been to Lawrence's house many times and already regarded it as half my home. Catherine dragged me to visit Larry's room. "Look, this is all my brother's past achievements." There were all kinds of certificates and trophies, showing his excellence everywhere. After looking for a while, Catherine got angry. "So amazing, huh?" I sat on the chair, laughing. "Hasn't he always been like this? What are you angry about?" Catherine was stunned. "How do you know? Have you been in here before?" I thought about it and nodded. "During the summer vacation of my first year in high school, I don't know if you remember, I came to find you, but you were stuck in the training class because of the heavy rain and couldn't come back." Catherine thought for a while and suddenly realized, "I remember now. We had planned to go shopping in the afternoon that day. But the rain was too heavy to leave. I didn't get home until night. That day, my parents had another fight and smashed things at home. With nowhere to go, I carried my school bag and came to find Catherine, but it suddenly started pouring rain on the way. By the time I got to her house, I was soaked through, and she still hadn't come back. I was shivering outside the door. When I was about to leave, the door opened behind me. Larry looked at me quietly. "Come in." "So that day, my brother gave you his old school uniform to change into," Catherine murmured, looking completely incredulous. "No wonder when I asked him to borrow it later, he said he'd already thrown it away." I was a bit embarrassed, because I felt like I'd troubled him. I never told anyone. Suddenly, Catherine remembered something, jumped up, and pulled open the drawer behind me. I was a bit strange. "What are you looking for?" Catherine didn't say anything after rummaging around. She finally took out a wallet. "Is this yours?" A light pink hair tie. The transparent glass beads strung on it had turned slightly yellow with time. I was stunned. Knock, knock. Larry came to the door and tapped on it with his knuckles. "Time to eat." I looked back. Larry saw the hair tie in my hand at a glance, and his eyebrows slightly lifted. Catherine was extremely proud. "Brother, it's such an old trick. You were still secretly in love. How could you not even have the courage to confess to her?" Larry waved at me. I held the hair tie in my palm. My heart was still pounding. I walked over and held his hand. He immediately held my hand tightly. "Thank you for being the light in my gloomy youth, and thank you for loving me." The end.